God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Thank you all for joining me. It's Friday. That means this is the last video that you have to watch before you get to the weekend. Thank you again for deciding to share this Friday afternoon with me. I hope that you'll enjoy it. So, one thing that I missed as part of being on break and coming back in to the news cycle a couple of days late was I missed this vicious, that's not the word I was looking for, savage. Is it still considered, or is it considered a dead meme to say savage at this point? But this savage Twitter rampage put on by Donald Trump, and I just thought I would talk about it a little bit because it is the president's main way to get his message out to the American people, so the mainstream media does like to talk about it. And there was some accidental comedic gold that happened with these tweets. So the first one, Trump began this Twitter rampage with a couple of tweets on the Middle East, and he began with this. It's not only Pakistan that we pay billions of dollars to for nothing, but also many of other countries and others. As an example, we pay the Palestinians hundreds of millions of dollars a year and get no appreciation or respect. They don't even want to negotiate a long overdue peace treaty with Israel. We have taken Jerusalem, the toughest part of the negotiation, off the table, but Israel, for that, we would have to pay more. But with the Palestinians no longer willing to talk peace, why should we make any of these massive payments to them? And of course, he's referencing the payments in cash that the United States makes to Middle Eastern countries for favors, for peace and stability and whatnot. Now, if I had it my way, the United States wouldn't give any money to any country that we didn't have an express written agreement with very specific things that we were going to require from those countries, and it would have to be something that contributed significantly to global peace or global stability. For instance, if we were to give, say, Saudi Arabia or Iran, some of the biggest state sponsors of terror, a boatload of U.S. dollars, I would say terrorism attacks must decrease by X percent over the next X number of weeks or months after you receive the first payment, else we're going to stop paying you this cash. But what we get instead is this foreign policy system where we give lots of money to these countries and areas of the Middle East, basically as a hostage payment for the region. We give them money, and they don't turn the region upside down. But the reality is that the region is in chaos anyway. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of fighting that goes on. A lot of violence makes its way out of the Middle East to Western countries, whether that be through foreign nationals or through radicalization of Western nationals. But regardless, why should we pay these exorbitant ransoms for a region of the world that's being held hostage if the region that's we're making the ransom payments for is still being abused by its captors? I thought we didn't negotiate with terrorists. Well, apparently we'll negotiate with foreign regimes as long as they don't do official terrorism as labeled by the mainstream media. Now, the most recent manifestation of the problems with making these payments came with the announcement that we were going to actually begin the process of moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. And I want to demonstrate for you, because I haven't had a video of it until just now, that this is not a new thing. This is something that should have been in the works for a very long time, at least as far back as President Clinton. And make sure you guys can hear.
Something will happen when I become the president. As soon as I take office, I will begin the process of moving the United States ambassador to the city of Israel as chosen as its capital.
There's a lot of applause, and then we have Obama.
Thank you.
And Jerusalem will remain the capital of Israel, and it must remain undivided. But any agreement with the Palestinian people must preserve Israel's identity as a Jewish state with secure, recognized, defensible borders. And Jerusalem will remain the capital of Israel, and it must remain undivided. I continue to say that Jerusalem will be the capital of Israel, and I have said that before, and I will say it again.
Jerusalem is still the capital of Israel and must remain an undivided city, accessible to all.
All three of those clips you saw, those three now former presidents made the statement that Jerusalem was the capital of Israel to great fanfare and applause, but no official U.S. actions were ever taken to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel until President Trump decided that we're going to begin the process of moving the embassy to Jerusalem. And because of this, because of the things that Trump has done, that's coming later. The United Nations decided that they were going to cast a vote to undermine the sovereignty of the United States of America and the sovereignty of the state of Jerusalem, and they're going to cast this vote that would render the United States decision null and void, as the United Nations has no authority to do so, but they decided to take it anyway. In response, Trump decided that we're going to slash funding for the United Nations out of the U.S. budget. And it turns out that would make it impossible for the United Nations to do its work. As I've told you, the United Nations exists to fleece the United States of money and to undermine United States sovereignty. And of course, when the United Nations doesn't have United States money, it becomes much more difficult for the United Nations to undermine United States sovereignty. So I'm all for the slashing dramatically of United Nations funding. And I think that could be something that Trump is alluding to when he says that we make all these payments to all these other countries. You know, money that goes to the United Nations is going to the operations of ambassadors from these other countries, from countries that have terrible human rights records, from countries that have actual visible animosity for the United States of America. So why should we give money to these countries? The very least that we ought to expect after giving a monetary gift to a country is a modicum of respect for the sacrifice. Of course, when it comes to the United States budget, it's not much of a sacrifice because we're just printing money. But in the ideal situation, we're making a sacrifice of money to this country, and we ought to be recognized for making that sacrifice. As it is, none of those things are happening. So I'm all in favor of slashing these payments to the United Nations, payments to these countries that have no desire to be friendly with the United States of America. That was just the first set of tweets that triggered the mainstream media. This next one somehow managed to get under their skin more. And I think it is because of the spin that they're able to put on it. You might understand what some of that spin is when you see the tweet. Here it is. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un just stated that the capitalized nuclear button is on his desk at all times. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I too have a nuclear button, capitalized again, but it is a much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my capitalized button works. Now, let me just tell you what this is. You probably have it figured out already. If you've been in competition before where you are allowed to speak to your competitors, you know exactly what this is. This is trash talk. Trash talk is basically meaningless. It's just I'm hesitant to say what the proverbial metaphor is, because I have families listening, but it's the junk measuring contest. That's the cleanest way I think there is to say it. The results of this trash talk will be meaningless. Nothing real is going to come of it. It's just words that are being exchanged for the purpose of getting a dig in at someone, getting under their skin. And you know that a megalomaniac like Kim Jong-un, it really gets under his skin that the United States does have a bigger arsenal of nuclear weapons, and that our nuclear weapons function much better than his do. That's all that Trump means by, I have a bigger nuclear button and my button works. See, Kim Jong-un says the nuclear button is on his desk at all times, which means I'm prepared to launch a nuke at you at any moment of the day. And Trump just fires back, well, we have more nukes, and ours will do what we want them to do. The implication is that Kim Jong-un's nukes don't do what he wants them to do. And this is somewhat grounded in reality. We've seen reports that North Koreans can't hit the broadside of a barn with their long-range ballistics missiles. In terms of a nuclear fallout from the North Koreans, the U.S. has nothing to worry about because their weapons are so bad. However, the clown show that erupted as a result of this tweet from the mainstream media, from outlets like NBC, and even from some alternative media outlets like the Young Turks, decided that Trump's nuclear button is a metaphor for his little general, if you know what I mean. Even if it were, then it doesn't make sense that Trump would capitalize the nuclear button of Kim Jong-un. That would mean that Trump thinks that Kim Jong-un is talking about his little general, which doesn't make any sense. There would be no reason to talk like this about the little general. If Trump wanted to say something about his little general, I think he would use a phrase more like that. He might say that he's got a little general while Kim Jong-un just has a little sergeant or something. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. Just like the mainstream media is doing in this case. But when it comes to where this analysis is coming from, this focus on genitalia when it comes to capitalized buttons, nuclear buttons at that, this is coming from people who never, ever mean what they say and never, ever say what they mean. The only people that could look at this tweet and instantly go, he's talking about his pee-pee, are the kinds of people that either that's the only thing that their minds are on, or the words that they say never mean what they sound like they mean to normal people. Normal people would see nuclear button and think, oh, he's talking about the button that's used to control nuclear weapons. And, okay, so yeah, Donald's is a bigger nuclear button because we have more nukes. And if you know that the North Koreans can't hit the broadside of a barn with their ballistic missiles, then you chuckle because he brings up the fact that his button works. And if you don't know that the North Koreans can't hit the broadside of a barn with a ballistic missile, then you might wonder why he brought that up about the button working. But the point is, the mainstream media doesn't just have their minds in the gutter, they are the gutter when it comes to this conversation. They brought the gutter because they are the gutter. It's the place where their mind goes. They never say what they mean. They never mean what they say. And that's why we have this clown show revolving around this tweet coming out of the mainstream media. Now, the last tweet that we're going to talk about is the one that I'm most excited for. And I really, really hope that this clashes with one of Hollywood's award shows. But Trump tweeted, "I will be announcing the most dishonest and corrupt media awards of the year on Monday at 5 o'clock. Subjects will cover dishonesty and bad reporting in various categories from the fake news media. Stay tuned." Oh boy. Oh boy. Yes. Pop bless. This is so savage. And like I say, I really hope that this conflicts with one of the mainstream media's, or I guess Hollywood's award shows, because it would be so beautiful if we could see the ratings of that award show going up against Trump's just having fun, joking, dishonest media awards. It would be so glorious, but unfortunately, I don't think any of those shows run on Monday. Needless to say, I'm very excited for this. The video will go live at 5 o'clock on Monday, so unfortunately, I will not get to watch the video live. You won't even probably get to see my reaction Monday night, but I guarantee you I'm going to be talking about this video. I hope that Trump will give us a sneak peek Monday afternoon so that I can tell you what I think about this event and its upcoming reveals. But at this time, that's all that I've got. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. And if you did, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss a single video. We're doing new reports talking about the stories of the day every single weekday. So there won't be a new video tomorrow, but we will be back on Monday. So until then, have a great weekend. Good night, and God bless.